The WNBA has spent the last 2 years trying to build larger-than-life personalities, and whether people love her or hate her, Angel Reese has become one of the biggest conversation starters in basketball. But Tuesday night created a moment that completely changed the discussion around her. Because it wasn't just the missed shots, it wasn't just the awkward offensive possessions, it was the reaction from the crowd while she was still trying to taunt opponents and embrace the villain role in the middle of a rough performance. That's where things became uncomfortable. Villains in sports only work when fans believe the player can actually destroy the other team at any moment. That's what made Reggie Miller terrifying in Madison Square Garden. That's what made early Miami Heat LeBron so polarizing. Fans bought tickets hoping to watch greatness fail. But if the performance itself becomes the joke, then the villain image starts collapsing into something completely different. And Tuesday night felt like the first time a large chunk of the audience stopped reacting to Angel Reese as a dangerous star and started reacting to her like entertainment for entirely different reasons. The atmosphere shifted fast. The crowd wasn't roaring because they feared a takeover. They were reacting to frustration, awkward possessions, and the disconnect between the confidence and the actual production on the court. And in modern sports, perception changes everything. Because once fans start laughing instead of fearing you, rebuilding that image becomes incredibly difficult.
And before they left, they showed their appreciation for the athletic prowess of Angel Reese by damn near booing her out of the building. Now, to her credit, Angel Reese, she decided to lean into it. She is once again embracing her role as the ultimate villain, which is a hell of a lot better than the role that she was playing during her rookie season, which was the ultimate victim.
That's the fascinating part of this entire situation. Angel Reese leaned directly into the boos instead of shrinking away from them. And psychologically, that's probably the smartest thing she could have done in the moment. Athletes understand that silence is worse than criticism. If people are booing, reacting, arguing online, and debating every move, at least you still control attention. But attention without elite production eventually becomes dangerous. And that's where the WNBA has a real problem right now. The league desperately wants rivalries. They desperately want emotional storylines. Caitlin Clark became a phenomenon because casual sports fans connected with her instantly. Her shooting range, pace, and style translated perfectly to highlight culture. Angel Reese became the natural counterbalance, physical, emotional, aggressive, unapologetic. That dynamic helped push ratings, social media engagement, and national conversation. But eventually, the basketball itself has to support the storyline. And Tuesday night exposed the growing criticism surrounding Reese offensively, because this wasn't just one bad shooting night. Fans online have been building compilations for months questioning her finishing ability around the rim, her touch in traffic, and her consistency in half-court offense. Fair or unfair, those clips spread fast in today's social media era. One awkward sequence can circle the internet for weeks. And the worst possible timing for that criticism is when you're simultaneously trying to play the role of basketball villain.
Tuesday night in Dallas, Angel Reese collected a rebound and put back an easy layup against the Wankers. Well, for the average basketball player, this was an easy layup. For Angel Reese, the degree of difficulty on this layup, it was the equivalent to a bald man trying to spike his hair by sticking his finger in an electric ass. As you saw in the clip, Angel Reese,
That moment right there perfectly captures why this debate has exploded. The taunting would have looked cold if it came after a dominant scoring stretch. Fans celebrate swagger when it's attached to control of the game. Michael Jordan talked trash while destroying defenses. Kobe Bryant stared through opponents after impossible shots. Diana Taurasi built an entire reputation around intimidation because players genuinely feared what she could do offensively. But when the performance struggles continue, the same swagger gets interpreted completely differently. Instead of intimidation, audiences start seeing overconfidence. And that changes the emotional balance instantly. You could even see it in crowd energy. The reactions felt confused. Some people were laughing, some were booing, some were still cheering because Reese remains one of the most recognizable personalities in women's basketball. But the atmosphere no longer felt like admiration mixed with rivalry. It felt divided. That's a dangerous spot for any athlete mentally, because confidence-driven players survive on emotional momentum. Reese has always played with visible energy, emotion, and attitude. That's part of what made her famous at LSU in the first place. The problem is that emotional players can also become targets much faster during struggles. Every miss becomes louder. Every turnover becomes a meme. Every taunt becomes replayed endlessly. And unlike older generations, modern athletes deal with this instantly across every platform at once. Now compare this to the greatest sports villains ever. Reggie Miller silenced arenas because fans knew he might hit 5 straight threes. Dennis Rodman annoyed entire fan bases, but he was also one of the greatest defenders and rebounders ever. Draymond Green talks constantly, but he anchors championship defenses and controls games intellectually. The performance always backed up the personality. That's the challenge Angel Reese is facing now. Because her current offensive limitations are becoming part of the national conversation instead of her rebounding dominance or defensive activity. And financially, that matters more than people realize.
If you were to believe the mainstream media, Angel Reese and Paige Beckers are the biggest stars in the WNBA. Now, with a matchup of this magnitude, you would think networks would be begging to broadcast this must-see TV. Instead, the networks told the Dreamers and the Winkers to get off my TV. The game was buried behind a paywall on WNBA League Pass.
This section reveals the biggest issue for the league itself. The WNBA wants stars who can translate into mainstream attention outside hardcore basketball circles. That's why every major sports league pushes personalities. The NBA exploded globally because of Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry. Their identities became bigger than the sport itself. The WNBA is trying to accelerate that same process, but there's a huge difference between social media attention and actual market power. Ticket sales matter, national television windows matter, arena demand matters, and networks quietly reveal what they believe about star power through scheduling decisions. If executives truly believed a matchup was must-see television, it wouldn't get buried where casual viewers struggle to find it. That's why this conversation matters long-term. Because the league currently has several recognizable personalities, but only a handful consistently move ratings nationally. Caitlin Clark obviously transformed visibility overnight, but after that, the WNBA is still searching for who can become the next undeniable mainstream attraction. Angel Reese absolutely generates engagement. Nobody can deny that. She trends constantly. Sports debate shows discuss her daily. Her highlights and controversies spread across every platform imaginable, but the league still needs the basketball product itself to elevate alongside the attention. And that's where the pressure intensifies, especially if Clark continues battling physical wear and tear throughout the season. The WNBA needs multiple stars carrying interest simultaneously, not just one central figure. That's why Reese's development offensively becomes such a massive story moving forward. If she evolves into a more polished scorer while maintaining her personality, the villain role suddenly works perfectly. Fans would pay to watch her lose, but also fear she might dominate. That's the formula.
But in order to be a villain, you have got to be believable. You have to be perceived as a legitimate threat. Reggie Miller was a great villain in New York City. Why? Because everyone in Madison Square Garden knew Reggie Miller could kick your ass. And while he was kicking your ass, he was going to talk shit and let you know how bad he was bruising your caboose. Isaiah Thomas, the Detroit Pistons.
And historically, sports proves this over and over again. The greatest villains are always believable threats. LeBron during the Miami Heat era became the center of the basketball universe because fans desperately wanted to see him fail while knowing he could destroy anybody at any moment. The Detroit Pistons terrified the NBA because they combined physicality with elite execution. Reggie Miller crushed playoff dreams repeatedly while smiling at opposing crowds. Fear created the emotion. That's the missing ingredient right now in the Angel Reese conversation. The personality is there. The confidence is there. The controversy is definitely there. But the consistency on the court has not yet reached the level where opposing teams genuinely fear her taking over offensively. And until that changes, nights like Tuesday will continue creating divided reactions instead of true superstar intimidation. Still, this story is far from over. Because sports history is filled with players who transformed weaknesses into motivation. Plenty of stars were mocked early in their careers before eventually becoming dominant. The pressure surrounding Reese is enormous because she entered the league with celebrity-level attention immediately. Most players never experience that kind of microscope. But that spotlight also creates opportunity. If she improves, the redemption arc could become massive. If she doesn't, the criticism only gets louder. And that's why this moment matters so much more than one rough game or one awkward taunt. It exposed the fragile line between being sports entertainment and being feared as an elite basketball force. So now the real question becomes, can Angel Reese evolve into the kind of player opponents truly fear, or will the villain image eventually collapse under the weight of the performances themselves?